I moved into Evermore Court with my fiancée, Lauren, on a breezy August afternoon. You know the kind of day I mean. Warm sun, a few lazy clouds, a light breeze carrying the faint smell of fresh cut grass, and impending rain. It was the kind of day where you feel like nothing bad could happen. A perfect day for new beginnings. The apartment was nothing fancy. Hell, it was barely more than a glorified shoebox. But it had its charm. Hardwood floors that creaked just right, tall windows that let in too much light, and a history you could feel in the walls. Lauren called it character. I called it cheap. The landlord, Mr. Bellamy, was the first sign things weren't quite right. He was a weary man, with eyes that didn't blink enough and a mouth that seemed permanently downturned. While handing over the keys, he said, "Respect the building and it will respect you." His voice was gravelly, like he'd been gargling nails. Lauren laughed it off, but his words sat with me. I had listened. The first few days passed in a blur of unpacking and taking things out of the boxes. Lauren busied herself decorating and making the place ours. I tried to work on my writing, though the words didn't come easy. Writer's block, they call it. But it felt more like I had lost something fundamental, some spark I had when I was younger. Then, one night, I noticed the door. It was around midnight, and Lauren had already gone to bed. I had been pacing the hallway, trying to shake loose an idea. Any idea, when I saw it. A door that shouldn't have been there. Simple, unassuming, painted the same beige as the walls. I swear it hadn't been there the day before. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. The room beyond was, well, perfect. Cozy, it was small but warmly lit, with bookshelves lining the walls and a plush armchair by a crackling fireplace. The smell of old books and lilacs filled the air, and the heavy wooden desk sat in the center, its surface polished to shine. It was the kind of room you dream about having, but never think you'll actually find it. "Lauren," I called, my voice bouncing off the walls. She shuffled out of the bedroom, barely opening her eyes. "What is it?" "Look at this," I said, waving her over. She glanced inside, then back at me. "It's a room, so?" "It wasn't here before," I said. Lauren squinted at me, half amused. "Jake, you're tired. Go to bed." I wanted to argue, but something in her tone stopped me. So I closed the door and let it go. For the moment. I really couldn't stop thinking about the room the whole night. The next day, while Lauren was at work, I opened the door again. The room was just as I left it. Only this time, it felt different, warmer. The desk called to me. So I sat and opened the leather journal lying on its surface. The words started to pour out of me. I wrote for hours, my hand moving as if guided by some unseen force. It was good stuff too, the kind of writing I hadn't managed in years. When Lauren came home, I showed her what I had written. "Whoa," she exclaimed, her eyes wide. "Where did this come from?" "The room," I said. Her smile faltered. "You mean the imaginary room?" I frowned. "What are you talking about? It's right there." But when I opened the door again, it led to nothing but a blank wall. My stomach dropped. Lauren gave me a look, the kind that says, "I love you, but you're losing it." The room didn't stay gone for long. That night, I woke up to the sound of whispers, faint, almost like the hum of an old radio. I followed the sound to the hallway, and there it was. The door, the room beyond, looked exactly the same, but this time the air felt a little colder. I stepped inside, the whispers stopped. On the desk was a new journal. This one was bound in black leather. I opened it to find the first line already written. You left the door open. Chills ran down my spine. I slammed the journal shut and left the room, making sure to lock the door behind me. But even as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something else or someone else was there, that I hadn't been alone in the room. Lauren started noticing the changes. Objects from the room started appearing in our apartment. A vase of lilac on the kitchen counter, an old book on the coffee table. I didn't remember bringing them out, but they were there, as real as anything else. This isn't funny, Lauren said one morning, holding up a photo of us from years ago. Only in the photo, we weren't alone. A shadowy figure stood in the background, blurry but unmistakable. Where did you find that? I asked. It was in the room, she said, her voice trembling. Jake, I think we need to leave. I wanted to agree, but something inside me couldn't let go. The room had its hooks in me, and deep down, I didn't want to fight it. One night, I awoke to find Lauren gone. The bed was cold, her side empty. I heard a creak from the hallway, and I knew immediately where she was. The door was open, and the room was alive. The walls pulsed with a faint, sickly light, and the air buzzed with whispers that overlapped and grew louder as I stepped inside. Lauren stood at the desk, staring at her journal. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with terror. Lauren, I said, my voice barely audible. She turned to me, and for a moment I thought she was going to say something. But then the whispers surged, and she was gone. Just gone. The room went dark, and I was alone. I don't know how long I've been here. The room doesn't let me leave. The door opens to different places every time: a forest, an empty street, sometimes a house I never recognize. Each time I hope it will lead me back to Lauren, but it never does. The whispers have stopped, replaced by something worse: silence. The room waits, and I write, because it's the only thing that keeps the darkness at bay. But the more I write, the more I forget about Lauren, about myself, about the world outside. And sometimes I wonder if I ever left that hallway, if the room was always here, waiting for me, and if it's waiting for you too.